Welcome everyone. Today we have our second part of the Underlord tier list. In this tier list, we'll look at the early game, mid game, and late game. This is also after the Knights and Dragons update, so very excited to share this with you guys. On the top of the tier list, we have Tiny. Yes, it says triple S tier must pick units, and it's just one of him. Why is he so strong? Because a Tiny is a Pranomial which disarms enemy with another Pranomial. Tiny throws the unit, does decent damage, AoE, and stuns the unit. If you build him in any build that is 2-star Tiny, he can be incredible. He counters mages, he counters hunters because he's stacking a corner. He's just a well-rounded unit. He can fit in almost any build. You don't need to build warriors with him. You don't need to build Pranomials. Just 2-star Tiny alone can do magic. So I definitely recommend you guys try him out if you have it. But we have tried him out in multiple lineups and he's just absurdly strong. I believe he'll be nerfed in the future. So get your hands on him and try him out. Followed by the Tiny, the early game units, I think Clockwork and Timbersaw are the scrappers. Although the scrappers are nerfed, they can still be quite relevant because you can go into Goblin saving mode in my Goblin builds and they can go so much stronger. And Jorandra's Hunter, Anti-Mage is a well-rounded unit that counters demons. He's here if you find him as 2-star. If you don't find him as 2-star, he's a little awkward. Beastmaster and Pudge. Beastmaster is a hunter. Beastmaster can enjoy the brownie item which gives him 50 HP per kill, but without that, he's a very strong hunter that does AoE physical damage. Works very well with the Jorandra and the hunters, and he can go into late game as a 3-star Beastmaster or as the 2 or 4 brownies. Okay, excuse me about that. What? Come on, Steam. Enough with the sales. Like, we get you. So, Beastmaster is very strong with 2 brownies or 4 brownies. Followed by that, we have Pudge. Pudge is a warrior with 1000 HP at 1-star, 2500 HP at 2-star. He's also an undead warrior, so that means he works well with just a draw or he works well with a necro as well. Very, very strong unit. After that, we have the B grade unit. I would briefly touch on them and touch on the C grade. Why are those B grade? Because those units do change the team fight more significantly compared to the units down here. Bloodseeker, Bounty Hunter, Morphling, Queen of Pain are assassins. They do more damage, and if they happen to be found as 2-star, they're very strong. Enchantress and Train Protector heals the team. They tend to be 2-star because of the Druid synergy, and they can out-heal the team and win the team fight. Jacqueline is a brownie that enjoys the buffs of a warrior and a brownie, so very strong unit with the Beastmaster or even with the axe. Witch Doctor, Chaos Knight both stuns the enemy when they cast a spell, and they are offensive. Defensively, Witch Doctor is a warlock, while Chaos Knight is also a demon and a knight, so they do multiple purpose. Also, Witch Doctor is a chore. Lastly, we have Puck here, not because Puck is a very strong unit, but because Puck just gained more priority because she is a dragon. She is a 2-cost dragon we might want to keep. We can go into dragon mages or dragons and knights. So Puck is here because of the positional choices for knights and dragons or mages and dragons. The units in the C grade doesn't offer us as much in the team fight. Tusk does do a little damage, and while Warlock does do a little burst damage. Tinker doesn't do that much unless Tinker gets attacked and gains mana. Tinker doesn't gain mana as fast. So you can see the units down here, they don't do enough damage in a mini skirmish before round 10, and that is early game. Of course, units down here are more awkward. The Furion needs to be 2-star and his still summons are still very weak. 2-star Furion is about 1.5-star. Crystal Maiden is the center of any mage build, but in early game from round 1 to 10, she falls off because there's not enough units for her to support. As a good support, you need a good carry. So we're picking out carries first, then we go for support. This is the second part of a mid-game tier list. Over here, we're looking at round about 13 to 22. This is the mid-game transitional phase. It's when you save up for gold and you want to build a lineup around units. And this is a crucial part. Most of our friends do dominate the early game, all of a sudden they lose in the mid-game. So let's focus on the mid-game. Over here, we'll have the S tier units. The Conquer, Shadowfiend, and Razor. The Conquer is a human. He is also a warrior. The human part allows him to human silence the frontliners, which is very nice. The warrior part, he's super tanky because he has 10 armor already, plus the 10 armor from warriors. Also, the bolt from Conquer is a massive AoE. It does have a 3-second delay, but still very useful and a standalone unit, even at 1 star. Followed by that, the Shadow Thing and Razors are great for the mage lineup. Shadow Thing and Razor does massive magical damage. Shadow Thing is also a warlock, and because of that, we can run 2 warlocks, all of a sudden your mages gain lifesteal. Shadow Thing can run almost in any lineup because of his versatility. The only downside is, as a demon, Shadow Thing will collide with other demons like Doom, so we have to keep in mind of that when we're planning for the builds. Razor, on the other hand, if you guys do remember the top triple S tier with Tiny, Razor do work with Tiny very, very well, because Tiny in the front line, Razor next to him will disarm an enemy. Usually enemies who are disarmed also stop casting, funny enough. Razor does massive AoE damage, and with a decent cooldown, which is 10 seconds. Razor is a core of mage build. If you remember our units alliance tier list, the mages are on top, and those units works in mages, works in warriors, and they can also work in knights as well. Coming down to the tier list for the A tier units, we can see 4 units here. They're all purple units, and let's have a look here. We have Disruptor, which is a mage counter. Disruptor is also a brownie. Disruptor works well in most of the teams once you find him as 2-star. The AoE silence and AoE damage is very relevant. If your Disruptor cast, that means it's likely you can kill the enemy frontline, say a 1-star Tide, or sometimes to delay the enemy's casting. That can be a Keeper of the Light, Medusa, Tide Hunter, or even Axe, because Axe can taunt your frontlines and then you lose your chance of casting. Necromancer is Undead. Undead plus Warlock is just superb. Those are very simple synergies that give us so much benefit. Warlock gives lifesteal while Undead amplifies the physical damage. Also, Necromancer heals and damage enemy. So he heals the allies, then he damages the enemy around him. Very good AoE and very top-notch pickup for mages, warriors, knights, and even hunters. And talking about hunters, we have Medusa. Medusa is a very strong unit with a Skadi, even with mana gain. She's a great damage healer for hunters and also a scaled unit. A scaled or Naga will protect you against mages when you have 2 of them, so Medusa and Tide is definitely a top pickup. Followed by Doom, a very underrated unit, which sometimes he misses his Doom, but as a 2-star demon, he is one of the strongest demons before the Demon Lord's thing comes into the play. So definitely check out the Doom as one of your 3 warriors. On the B tier, we do have the Dragon Knight and the Troll Warlock going up in my tier list, simply because the latest Dragons and Knights buff, those units are just so strong because how many dragons you need now. You only need 2 dragons, and Dragon Knight with 2 dragons is superb. If you find an early 2-star Dragon Knight with just one of the dragons as a Viper, you can go with Dragons and Knights. If you find Dragon Knight with Pack, you can go with Dragons and Mages. So he's very versatile and very nice unit because his spells also does AoE damage and reduces enemy attack. Very strong unit. But of course, you don't need 2 dragons. You can run him in a knight lineup, which makes him super tanky. Followed by the Troll. The Troll received a small buff. The attack speed now stacks with the global item, I believe. And also, the rise of the Knights give rise to the Trolls. If you remember, the top of the tier list, we have Knights. Trolls do excel in a Knight because Batrider is naturally a Knight. If you find the Troll global item, oh boy, they're gonna be hitting for days. Alchemist is a nice unit. You have seen the wide spread of Alchemist SS Spray. It's the widest AoE in the game. It minuses armor, so it's as if you got 2 of the undead with this SS Spray. Followed by Alchemist, we can see some of the units from the top of the tier, which are the Hunters. We can see Hunters, Sniper, Marana, Windrunner. We can also see the mages being Keeper of the Light. The units I want to highlight is Terrorblade, Vano, and Lone Druid. Vano is a Warlock, also a beast. Vano helps in the early game. If you pick up a Vano with another Warlock, say Witch Doctor, say the Necro, all of a sudden you have lifesteal. Vano summons are great for the mid game, but they do fall off in the late game, so you want to switch Vano for something else. Terrorblade, what a great demon pickup with a strange bedfellow. But the downside with Terrorblade, or the plus side with Terrorblade is, if you find him as 2-star before round 20, he is unstoppable. Give him a BKB, just watch him wreck the entire enemy team. But if you don't find him as 3-star by round 30, he fall off so much because his lack of HP is a melee unit. So he's one of those baitish unit. You got baited into demons, You do so much damage, and once round 30 comes, the enemy mage or the knight team just wrecks you because you haven't built enough tank or survivability. Lone Druid is a funny unit because druids work differently here, but still, as the core of the druids, he can be very strong once you have the 4 druids. You get 2 3-stars as 4 of the druids, and you just need 2 3-star druids and 2 2-star druids to make it work. As the center of the druids, I put him high enough, but unless you're going for druids, he's not that strong. In our C tier list, we have the knights here. As you can see, although knights are very highly ranked, they are very specific. Unless you're building knights, you won't be picking those knights. Similarly with assassins, unless you're building assassins, you won't be picking them. I'm trying to have a tier list so those units are more universal, and the knights and assassins seems to be too narrowed for us. A highlight here is Arc Warden and Lycan. Arc Warden is a binomial. You can use Arc Warden before the Razor or the Morphling, but I prefer the Razor or Morphling with more damage, because their spells cast damage while Arc Warden just split, and the 1-star split dies too fast. Lycan is in an awkward position, because as a warrior he's a great pickup, but usually he only stays on 2-star. If he goes to 3-star, it's too much of investment. If he stays on 2-star, he's not strong in the late game. Also the beast, also the savage also falls down in the late game. Lastly, we have the Lina. She is a mage, and she is one of the 6 mage we can use, but there's more than 6 mage. She's also human. When would I use a Lina? I'll use her when I get fallen from grace and I want undead, so I turn humans into undead. But other times, as a mage that does single target damage, that doesn't enjoy attack speed boost like Dota Underlords, she is not one of the strongest mage. They picked her while she's in her wake moments, and ideally I don't pick her unless I get 6 mages or unless I'm trying to build a human lineup. This is our last tier list with all the 5 cost units. Yes, I have broken the tier list down to 1 to 2 cost, 2 to 3 cost, and 5 cost units. There's only 5 of the 5 cost units, so let's have a look here. Tide is an initiator. Tide is also a scaled. A scaled or a naga will reduce the enemy magic damage because you get magic resistance. And this is great because there's so many mages running around, and having an initiator that stuns AoE plus magic resistance, it's just like double bonus. Tide is also a hunter, so again, Tide works in multiple lineups and can be a great additional unit for multiple lineups. Tide casts almost instantly, not instantly, but almost instantly is good enough. So Tide is on my highest tier because although the units here do cast a spell instantly, they do not stun enemy. In the late game, the initiators has to stun or silence. That's why Disruptors, Medusas, Conkers, or Tinies are strong in the late game because they either stun or silence AoE enemies. Followed by Tide, we have Enigma, Lich, and Gyro. They serve different purpose. Enigma does pure damage, great for tanky lineups like Warriors and Knights, and also very strong unit as a Warlock. You can see Enigma lifestealing back if you have the Warlock global item. Also, Enigma fits in multiple lineups. Binomial mages, Warlock with Trolls, Warlock with Knights, just anything that goes with Warlock or even mages, very strong. Lich is a mage and undead. You can go Lich and Necro for undead, or you can just run Lich in a 3 or 6 mage lineup. Lich at 2-star with a refresher or without a refresher is very, very strong. The Lich bounce in Underlord is almost infinite distance, they bounce anywhere. It's not like in auto chess where units move slightly apart, they don't bounce anymore. Here the Lich bounce will go forever until the end, and there's no units on the bench to steal the bounces. Gyro is a very good unit. Great lineup with Deadeye with Hunters, also great with magic damage lineups with mages. Gyro casts pretty instant, and he will also slow units in the zone of Gyro's cooldown. So very nice unit. Lastly, we have a good old Tackies. I love Tackies, and I kept him here not because he's super weak, but compared to the other legendaries, he's not very strong as a 1-star legendary. At 2-star, he does lots of damage. But if you put him as 1-star in the front line, he will die before he casts. If you put him in the back line, he will die after your entire team dies. He wouldn't cast. He needs mana gain, he needs HP, he needs a lot of things at 1-star. At 2-star, he can be in the front line, he is very strong. and also the bomb has a little delay, so sometimes the units will be running away from you. If you put him in the front line, he get tossed by a tiny, all of a sudden he put a bomb in the side. So he's quite situational, so in comparison I put him a little lower compared to the other units. Yeah, Tackies bomb is sometimes awkward. He also puts the bombs in the back. Enigma can do a lot of damage, that's right. This will be the end of today's tier list. We had two parts of the tier list. The first part of the tier list shows us the alliance, which we do have the highlight of the mages, warriors and knights on top of the tier with the latest update. The second part of tier list will show us the 1 cost to 2 cost units tier list, the 3 cost to 4 cost units tier list for the mid game transitioning, and the late game 5 cost legendary tier list. So thank you so much guys for watching. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel for more guides for Underlords and more great tips and builds for Underlords. Please also subscribe and follow to support me on Twitch. Thank you so much for your support so far. Thank you guys. Let me know in the comments below of what do you think about our tier list, of the changes, of the new dragons and the dominance of the knights. Thank you so much guys.